Great. So if you look at topic number 3, of course, we are doing this with the CPA students and also those who are taking ATD exams, that is ATD 3, Fundamentals of Management Accounting. So under topic number 3, we are going to deal with the basic part of the cost estimation system. So under cost estimation, we have many methods that we're going to use to do our cost estimation. As the topic reads, introduction, we are not going to deal with more than one independent variable. That is, our cost function will be in the simplest form, that is total cost is equal to total fixed cost plus total variable cost. Total variable cost is equal to variable cost per unit multiplied by quantity or activity level. This will be simplified in the form of y equal to a plus b plus bx. So this is the introduction part of this particular concept of cost estimation. This is the first part of cost estimation. So under this particular formula, we'll be able to see what y represents. What do we have, or what do we mean by letter A? What does this B represent? What does this X represent? Before we get to now the methods of coming up with that. That should be accessed under or in LMS. You should be able to access that from LMS. You should be able to access that from LMS. Good. How about now? Are you getting anything now? Jen, are you getting anything? Are you getting anything? Any improvement? Any improvement? But not yet. Okay, we can work. Very clear. Audible. Great. So we can now proceed. Good. Now, the entire topic number 3, you'll be dealing with this. This is the main area of focus. All the methods that involves calculation will be revolving around this. Why are we talking about the simple cost estimation function? It's because we are only dealing with one independent variable. Because when you now get to advanced level, number 1, you'll be told to give us computer output. Number 2, we'll be given a cost function in this form, A plus bx1 plus cx2 plus dx3, whereby x1, x2, x3 are independent variables. Then A, can talk about B, C, D, those are now constants or coefficients. Of course, we have A being independent. We call it fixed. We call it fixed cost. So that's what you are going to deal with when you now get to advanced management accounting. But of course, at this particular point, we only have one independent variable. That's why you're talking about introduction to cost estimation. That's what you're talking about. Introduction to cost estimation. Good. So we need to understand what each of these items represents. And for us to explain that clearly again, we need to move to this section here and have, for example, we have labor hours, and then we have labor costs. Or alternatively, we can use units produced. Then we use production cost. Units produced and then we have production cost. So this is just an illustration. Oh, someone is not getting anything, but okay, let's have like 2 minutes to work on that. 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Good. So introduction to cost estimation, and this is the simplified function. So I want to use this illustration, this sample data here, to be able to understand what we'll be talking about under the definition of each component of the cost function. So we can start with the, we can take 10, we take 13, 24, we take 9, we take 16. Then at this particular point, we'll be required 1294. Correspond to 20 to 53. Then we have 7 corresponding to 55. Then we have another 55 here. 24 corresponds to 26. Good, so that's what we are having. That's what we are having. So we are having occurrences. So can even add another column here and talk about months or even weeks. So we have weeks. Can even add weeks there, which of course, by the end of this session, you'll be able to understand that it does not add any value. So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6. Good. So we are doing topic number 3. Now topic number 1 and topic number 2, those are theory topics. And of course, you have all the materials with you. Those who are there during our first session, you're able to understand how to access all the materials for topic number 1 up to topic number 10. Good. Now, having done this, this is what this particular company has been doing. They have been doing their production, right? From week 1 all the way to week 6. Then when they produced 10 units, they incurred 94 shillings. When they produced 13 in week 2, they incurred 55. Then we have week 3, they produced 24, they incurred 107. Week 4, 9, 53 shillings. Week 5, 26, 102 shillings. Then of course, week 6, 7 units, and they incurred 55. So if you look at this data set number 1, you're able to see on this other column, we have 55 appearing 2 times, right? But of course, the first 55 corresponds to 13. The second one corresponds to 7. Good. When we are dealing with anything under cost estimation, we must do them in coordinate. We must do them in coordinate form, right? We must do them in coordinate form. That is, it must be X, Y. So you cannot take 107 and take 7. No, it does not correspond. 107 and 7 does not correspond. But if you have to take 107, then I must pick 24. If I have to take 7, then I must take 55, not 7 and 53. Good. Yes, we'll be able to take care of that. We'll be able to take care of that. Don't be worried. Let's just focus on topic number 3 for now. Then I'll be able to communicate. 10 minutes or 20 minutes to the end of this session, I'll be able to communicate. So let's focus on topic number 3 for now. Is that okay? Is that okay? Is that okay with us? Yeah, so let's focus on topic number 3. It will not prevent you from accessing the notes. Good. Now, having done that, when you look at this particular function, we've talked about total cost, right? We've talked about total cost. our total cost or TC is replaced by letter Y. So what do we call this? This is called dependent. Dependent variable. You can clearly see from this particular point, our total cost depends on total fixed cost plus total variable cost. Our total cost is the summation of these two. And therefore, without these two, we'll not have our total cost. So we call it dependent variable. How about A? Total fixed cost. It is constant. It does not change. It does not change, right? So this total fixed cost is constant. It does not change. So this is what we call fixed costs. That's what we call fixed costs. Now, we have another name for this fixed cost. We call it Y. We call it Y-intercept. At Y-intercept, X is equal to 0. At Y-intercept, X is equal to 0. So somebody is wondering, why are you talking about X equal to 0, Y-intercept, fixed cost? All these things are not making sense. Good. Now, when you are doing production, for example, when you are doing production, there are these things that are normally fixed. They are not dependent on the number of units you are going to produce. Number of products you are going to sell has got nothing to do with these expenses. So for a company, are we able to mention some of the expenses that are normally fixed? For a company, maybe this particular company is operating under a given building, right? So they're talking about rent and rates or lease rentals, right? So we're talking about rent. So this rent is fixed, especially if you've taken it under lease, you'll be paying a fixed amount, maybe on quarterly basis or annual basis. It does not depend on the number of units you're going to produce, right? Good. So we have salary, right? So we have salaries. We have salaries. Depreciation of plant and machinery. Salaries, not commission. Thank you. So we have depreciation. If it is on straight line basis, it will be constant, right? Whether you've done production or not, these expenses will be incurred. Whether you've closed your premises for the entire month, these expenses will be incurred. Electricity, again, now depends on whether the company is doing manufacturing, and of course, some portion of it is incurred in the manufacturing department or production department, but we can bring it here. So it means, again, having seen that, we are going to look at topic number 2, classification of costs based on variability, right? So we have those costs that are semi-variable, semi-variable, right? So semi-variable, it is partially fixed and partially variable. For example, electricity, if you are dealing with a manufacturing company, then you will find that, let's say, 40 kilowatts, maybe power consumption, 40 kilowatts will be consumed under normal circumstance. But now, as they increase the quantity of output, as they increase the volume of production, then what will happen? This consumption level will increase, right? It will be increasing to be equivalent to what has been produced. So this one here will be partially fixed and also partially variable, right? Good. So having done that, the fixed component or the fixed portion of the expenses here are recorded under fixed costs. That is Y-intercept. At Y-intercept, you've not produced anything, but you are incurring these costs, right? If you look at the curve, this is how the curve will be looking like. So this is what you're going to have. If you are to have that curve in place, activity level, this is X, this is Y, right?
So we have total cost. This total cost, you'll find that it's starting from this particular point. Your total cost will be starting from this particular point. So this is total cost curve, right? This is total fixed cost. So this portion, this is the variable cost. We are going to use this again in topic number 8 under CVP analysis. So we have fixed costs, right? So you can see you have not produced anything, right? So we have units produced, right? Then we have production cost. You have not produced anything. Units produced is 0. But look at your total cost. Your total cost is somewhere here. Your total cost or total fixed cost is somewhere here. This is where we have A. That's where we have A. Good. Now, how will we be able to get this B? What is this B? B is what we call slope stroke gradient of the curve. But of course, in costing terms, we are calling this variable cost per unit. Variable cost per unit. Now, for me to be able to get total variable cost, what did we say? Our total variable cost is equal to variable cost per unit multiplied by X. What does this X represent? Activity level, the units produced. Of course, we are using units, but now in some question, they will be talking about labor hours and labor cost. They will be talking about machine hours and production cost. So in talk about units, in other questions, it will be machine hours, it will be labor hours, and therefore we are going to replace units with what we call variable cost per activity level. Because activity level here now, can represent a lot of things. Number one, it can represent units produced. It can represent labor hours. It can represent machine hours. Because it is not that in every single question under this topic, the examiner will be talking about units produced and production cost. No. At some point, the examiner will be talking about labor hours, machine hours, and not necessarily units produced. So the variable component, the variable cost per activity level is what we have here as the slope of the curve. Now, how do you normally get gradient? You can actually pick that concept from your mathematics knowledge or economics knowledge, right? How do you normally get slope or gradient of a curve? It is change in y over change in x. It is change in y. So how do we get B? It is change in y over change in x. Good. So what is this x? What is this x? What is this x? It is so powerful. In any cost function, x is the most powerful tool, because without x, everything will be constant. Without x, everything will be constant. We've talked about slope or gradient of the curve. It is variable cost per unit. Variable cost per unit will be constant. The only thing that will make it to change is the activity level. For us to get total variable cost, we need variable cost per unit, which is a constant figure, right? This B. Then x will keep on changing. So the changes in x will make our total variable cost to do what? To change. Now, back to the main function here. You can see we have total fixed cost plus total variable cost. What have we said about total fixed cost? Even if you've done nothing, you will still incur the total fixed cost. So look at our cost function, or this one here. our cost function y is equal to a plus bx. So from this entire function, for us to be able to record changes in y, what do we expect to change? Is it a, is it b, or x? What do we expect to change? If we want to see changes in y, what will make it change? What will make it change? Keeping in mind that variable cost per unit is constant. It is x. So changes in x will lead to changes in y. This x here, that's why we are now giving it a special name called independent. Independent variable. Independent variable. And because it is powerful, we are giving it another special name called cost driver. Activity level, independent variable, or cost driver. Good. So that's what we need to understand. X is the independent variable, cost driver, or activity level. It dictates. If you want to look at what we are going to have as the total production cost, the total cost incurred, then you must look at the behavior of X, the units produced, the activity level here. So this is the independent variable. It dictates what you are going to have, which means in the entire cost function, this one here, in the entire cost function, it is only X that determines the value of Y. A, which is fixed cost, will be constant throughout. B, which is variable cost per unit, will be constant, but total variable cost will change because of change in X. And therefore, that's why we give it this name, independent variable, cost driver, or activity level. Point number one that you should not forget as we move forward. Now that we have been able to see that X is the independent variable, it does not depend on anything, but Y is the dependent variable, or total cost. Y is the dependent variable or total cost. So because of this first name here, independent variable, anytime we are told to come up with the pairs of the highest value and lowest values, we don't go to Y values. No, we go to X values because they determine what we are going to have. It is the independent. It does not depend on anything, but Y depends on X. So if you are told to give us the pairs of the highest values, go to the X column and look at the highest values. Good. Now, in reference to what we've been able to discuss here, there is no provision in your workings that will be having units produced and production cost. Under my explanation here, we have not mentioned anything to do with the units produced and production cost. We've talked about Y, we've talked about A, we've talked about B and X. Are we able to replace these things here with X and Y? If you are told to replace units produced with Y or X, which item will replace units produced? From what you've just been able to learn, which item will replace units produced? Which item will replace units produced? It is X, independent variable. So it means if I were to get production cost, units produced does not depend on production cost. If I want to get units produced, I can get it independently without looking at the production cost. But for me to be able to arrive at the production cost, I must know the units produced. Why? Our cost function, which is this one here, total production cost, is equal to total fixed cost plus variable cost per unit multiplied by units produced. So this one is constant. This one is constant, which means any change in Y will be as a result of change in what? Change in units produced, which is X. So this is the independent variable. Moving forward, I don't need the name units produced. I don't need the name production cost. I will talk about X. I'll talk about Y. I'll talk about X. I'll talk about Y. I'll talk about X. I'll talk about Y. Great. So are we together up to that point? Are we together? Well, okay, so you can record that, then we proceed. You can record that, then we proceed. You can record that, then we proceed. Good. So are you done, Dennis? Are you done? Good. Now, we have been able to replace units produced with X and, of course, production cost with Y. So don't forget the original name. We'll use them at some point. Now, I want us to move to the next step where we are going to come up with this cost function using this particular data. We are required to come up with a cost function in the form of Y equal to A plus B X. So having this in place, we need to bring two extra columns here. We need to bring two extra columns here. But before we bring the two extra columns, I want us to have this in place. We are going to apply the method. So methods of cost estimation, you need to have them somewhere. Methods of cost estimation. Of course, you have them in the notes. You have them in the notes under topic number 3. So number 1, you'll be required to use I law method. Number 2, you are required to use, we call it simple regression or ordinary least square method. Number 3, we have accounts analysis method. Number 4, we have scatter graph method. Number 5, we have engineering method. Number 6 was transferred to advanced level, so we don't need to mention it here. Number 6 was transferred to advanced level. Good. So I want to start with the first method, I-law method. All these, the first four, you must end up with a cost function in the form of Y equal to A plus B X. This one here, you need to describe. Just need to describe. You need to give us advantages. You need to give us disadvantages. That's all that is required. under method number 5. There is no calculation. There is no calculation. Wait. Are you able to see the board from your side? Is the board visible from your side? Some people are saying that it is not clear. Dennis, check on your network. Check on your network. Check on your network. Maybe that's where the problem is. Good. Now, let's start with the first method, 𝐼-law method. From the word I and law, we are going to pick two coordinates. We are going to pick two coordinates, two pairs of coordinates, the highest values pairs and the lowest values pairs. That's what we need. So let's start with that first method. Talking about 𝐼-law method. 𝐼-law method. So we'll be able to see the disadvantage of this method once we are done with this particular question. To get the concept. Okay. So are you able to see the board? Is this board visible from your side? Is it visible from your side? I believe so. I can also see it from my side. Great. So under 𝐼-law method, we need to do two things. Pick the highest values coordinates and the lowest values coordinates, right? Good. So what did I say? When we were looking at the value or X, we talked about independent variable. We talked about cost driver. It's going to dictate what we are going to have. So if you are told to pick the highest values coordinates, if you are told to pick the lowest values coordinates, you just go to column X and locate the highest value and the lowest value. So this is what you are going to do. Let's assume you are told to pick the highest value. So you're going to have two sets. I did that intentionally. So somebody will come and tell us, you know what? The highest value here is 107. And because I said coordinates must be X, Y, they'll be referring to the corresponding figure here. So they're talking about 24, 107. Then somebody will be saying, no, that is not true. The highest value should be 26. So we'll be talking about 26, 102. So these two people are actually right? Because this is the highest value, 107. Then this is also the highest value, 26. So these two people are right, but they only just need some adjustment to get the difference. But someone who comes here and tells us 26, 107, this one here, we should not forgive him or her, right? If you take 26 and 107, then this person should not be forgiven, right? Because we agreed we cannot take what happened in week 5 and compare it with what happened in week 3. It does not make sense at all, right? So if I have to take what happened in week 3 as the highest, you must pick the corresponding figure. If I have to take what happened in week 5 as the highest, I must pick the corresponding figure. So this person here should not even be given chance. So we even forget about it. It should not be part of what we are discussing. So let's try and see who is right between these two people. Is it the first one or the second one? Based on what we have just explained up here. Who is right between the first one and the second person? Who is right? The second person. Why? Because we said the moment you get to pick the highest values pairs, we don't focus on the highest values in column Y. we focus on the highest value in which column? In column X, because X is the cost driver. It does not depend on anything. It is the independent variable. So that leaves us with 26,102, right? Good. Now, what if we are not going to change anything? Don't change it from your side. I just want to bring a scenario. What if this one here was also 26? What will we do if this one was also 26? So what will happen? What will happen? Still, we are not going to divert our focus in column X, right? This time round, because column X has got two highest figures that are similar, then this time round, we now go to column Y and look at the highest figure between the one that is corresponding to 26, the first 26, and the second 26. So if this was the case, what will be our coordinates here, somebody? What will be our coordinates if this was the case? (26), which is the highest. It's appearing twice. Then you now look at the highest figure in column Y, which is 107. Which is 107. Imagine in the entire question, that is what was tested in August 2024. Just that, testing your understanding of independent variable and dependent variable. That is what was tested in the entire question, right? So if this was the scenario, we take the highest, which is 26, and now look at the highest in this other column. But because that is not the case, the right one was 24. We'll take 26,102. So the highest figure remains to be this. Good. The same applies to the lowest coordinates, or the lowest figure's coordinates. So can someone give us that? Can someone now give us the right figure? The lowest. The lowest. The lowest. The lowest. The lowest. Someone is already letting me down. Between 9 and 7. Column Y, 53, is the lowest. It is corresponding to 9, which is not the lowest. Column X, we have 7, which is the lowest. It is corresponding to 55. So which one will dictate or will direct you on what to pick? It is column X. So look at the lowest value in column X. I can see it is 7. Whether it corresponds to the highest figure, that will be our lowest coordinates. Assume this 7 was having 155 here. What will be your lowest? I will still go for 7,155. I will close my eyes and forget about Y. Y will not dictate what I want to pick until I have similar figures. That's when I will now go to column Y. But if I don't have similar figures, when 7 is the lowest and it corresponds to 155, this will be my lowest coordinates. 7,155. So that's why we cannot pick 9 and say it corresponds to the lowest here. No, we take 7 and have 55. Is that clear to somebody? Is the point taken? Is the point now clear to somebody? Great. So we talked about getting the slope of the curve, which is the value of B. We talked about getting y-intercept. So between y-intercept and slope of the curve, which one will we get first? We first of all go for the slope of the curve. So our cost function should be in the form of y equal to a plus bx, right? Good. So can we have it? We have this unknown figure. We have this unknown figure. Of course, we have the values of y here. We have the values of x here. So we want to use these figures to be able to get the value of a and the value of b, which are constant. Then we will be able to come up with the cost function. So the first step, if you can recall, irrespective of the method you are going to use, our first step is to identify which one will we have as X, which one will we have as Y. Remember the starting point, we add units produced and production cost. This time round, at this particular point, we are now talking about X and Y. Good. Can we have a scenario where the value of X and Y are same when, for example, choosing the highest values? Yes, that's possible. That is possible. So long as the highest value is picked from column X and the lowest value is picked from column X, that is correct. Good. So let's start with the slope. What did we say about slope? So the slope, that is the value of B, is equal to change in X over change in Y over change in X, change in Y over change in X. Good. So we have two values of Y. That's why we are picking the two pairs. That is why we are picking the two pairs. This change in Y over change in X cannot be dealt with if I don't have 2 points, right? If I don't have 2 points, I cannot deal with this change in Y over change in X. That is why you are being directed to pick the lowest values coordinates and the highest values coordinates. So let's start with it. So the value of Y, the highest values, 102 minus 55 over change in X, which is the starting one is the highest, 102. The corresponding X is 26 minus 55 here. The corresponding value is 7, right? So that's what we have. What will we have down here? At least 4 decimal places. Don't round off. 4 decimal places will be okay. Anytime we are doing cost estimation, you must have it to 4 decimal places. Unless otherwise. What of a scenario where the lower value of X is equal to Y? Okay, sasa mtu anajaribu kusema, what if we add 7 and it corresponds to 7? If your lowest value in column X is 7, then this one is automatically picked, right? We automatically pick this one here. We automatically pick this one here. So we have 2.473, 2.4736. That is the value of B. That is the slope of the curve. So we need to get y-intercept, or the value of A, or fixed cost. So look at our cost function. Look at our cost function. Our cost function is in the form of y equal to A plus B x. What do we have? We now have the value of B, right? So let's pick one of them. We can pick the highest values or the lowest value. One of the coordinates. Let's pick the highest values coordinates. What is y? We have the value of y. So when y is 102, we don't have the value of A. Plus B. Do we have B? Yes. 2.4736. And our formula says it is Bx multiplied by x. When y is 102, what is the value of x? When y is 102, what is the value of x? Are we not rounding off? 4 decimal places. 4 decimal places. When the value of y is 102, what is the value of x? Look at it even from the table here. When y is 102, what is the value of x? 26, right? So we have 26 here. So you can see in the entire question, we now only have one unknown item. So we can actually collect the like terms and get the value of A. So please proceed and give us the value of A. So the next thing we are supposed to do, we need to deal with this independently and then bring it to this other side. So we are going to have the value of A is equal to 102. And because this will cross the equal sign, it will be a minus 2.4736 times 26. Can someone give us the value of A? Can someone give us the value of A? Can someone give us the value of A? The value of A? 30 what? 37.6842. $37.6842. Tuko na 6842, 6838. Whoa. Okay, that will not change anything big, but I want us to have the same thing. I want us to maintain this. Can we have 2.4736 multiplied by 26, then deducted from 102? What are you getting? What are you getting? 6838. Good. So that's what we are having now. Are we able to come up with a cost function? 4737. Okay. Then this one should be 37. Good. So if that is done, is it okay this way? Is it okay this way? Great. So let's now go ahead and have our cost function. We say it is in the form of y equal to A plus bx, right? So do we have A? So y, our cost function will be y equal to A, right? So what is the value of A? 37.6838 plus bx. What is the value of B? 2.4737x. We said very well that A is fixed cost. It will not change. B is the slope of the curve, variable cost per unit. It will not change. So the only thing that will make Y to change is the value of X. They now come to, so the first part will be told to give us cost function in the form of Y equal to A plus BX using 𝐼-LO method. That is Roman 1. Roman 2, you'll be told to give us total production cost, given that the estimated units in week 7 are 15. So can someone give us total production cost? If in week 7, the company is anticipating production of 15 units, can we do that? It's basically the value of Y when X is equal to 15. So our cost function Y is equal to A 37.6838 plus 2.4737x. What have we been told? When X is 15, what will be the value of Y? What are we getting? 74.7893. 74.7893. 74.7893. Good. That's what we are having. Now, that is what you are supposed to do when you are told to come up with a cost function using 𝐼-LO method. And of course, Roman 2 part of it is where you are given now the estimated value of X and use it to give us value of Y, right? Good. So that is it. You've been able to see again clearly that there's nothing to do with the weeks column. We'll not take 6, 5, 4, or 3 and bring it into our formula. No. Under 𝐼𝐿𝐴 method, that is it. Now, if you look at this particular method, have you been able to identify any limitation? Have you been able to identify any limitation? Have you been able to identify any limitation? So I want you to pick it from this point, believing that those who are in this meeting are actually, yes, only 2 points are used. Very important. Thank you. So now look at it from this point. Before the implementation of 2.75%, that is shift, right, of your gross, before implementation of this. So let's say this implementation happened before this production was done, right? So let's say this somebody who is spending, this somebody's income. So let's have 500,000. 500,000. Before implementation of shift, it was NHIF, right? What was the rate? What was the rate? The highest, the amount that was paid by this person here, the highest amount was 1,700, right? It was 1,700. Good. So it means if, let's assume this was the only deduction from 500,000, what will be the balance? What will be the disposable income? Disposable income. Let's assume it is the only deduction. What will be the disposable income? 500,000 minus 1,700. We hesabu inashinda watu hapa. 498,300. Good. After implementation of 2.75%, so we now have shift, which is 2.75% of your 500,000. What will we have? How much will be deducted? $13,750. Disposable income, assuming that it is the only deduction. Disposable income. Disposable income, 486,250. 486,250. Actually, what I want to explain has got nothing to do with the NHIF and shift. What I want to explain is very different. So before the introduction of shift, when it was still NHIF, the highest amount someone was supposed to pay was 1,700 for NHIF, even if you are earning $1 million, right? That is what was supposed to be. So we are interested in the disposable income or what the government is taking from your salary, right? So if you look at the expenditure pattern, when it was NHIF, this person had only 1,700 being deducted, being taken away. So they had a total of 498,300, which looks to be insignificant, right? If their gross is 500,000. If you look at now the introduction of shift, after introduction of shift now, you can see it is not only 1,700, but it is 13,750. Will this person have the same expenditure pattern? Will this person have the same expenditure pattern after 13,750 is taken from their salary? The answer is no. Now, that takes us to the explanation of why we have disadvantages of 𝐼𝐿𝐴 method. What if this is what happened? The production that happened in week 5 happened when we were having NHIF in place. Then production that is happening now in week 6 has occurred when we have now shift implemented. What does it tell you? It means taking the highest value and the lowest value to some extent might lead us in coming up with a cost estimation function. Why? Because we might be focusing on the outliers. We might be focusing on the extreme ends when the unusual thing happened. Maybe that favors the company and another one that does not favor the company or companies operating in that particular industry. And therefore, if we now focus on those two extreme ends, we'll come up with a misleading cost function. So some people mentioned up there that number one, we are not picking all the values. So how is that action making it to be a limitation of this method? By not picking all the points, we are only focusing on extreme ends, that is the highest and the lowest. We might be leaving those production that occurred under ideal condition without any interference, right? So that makes it not to be perfect in cost estimation, right? Good. Of course, you can even do that with the illustration of when COVID came, that is 2019, 2020. You can also mention that when you explain the limitations of this particular method. Now we are supposed to move to method number 2. Under method number 2, we are not going to leave anything unused. We must use everything given here. That is all the values of X, all the values of Y. It means we are going to get an average for the highest figures, the lowest figures. If anything happened that is unusual, we are going to capture them, all of them together and look at the average. So that average will give us the most accurate cost function. Because of space, I will do away with my workings. But of course, we are going to compare. We are going to compare this result. This is what we are going to compare. We'll be comparing this for Roman 2. We'll be looking at the cost estimation function for Roman 1 under method number 2. Under method number 2. So are we together up to that point? Are we together up to that point? Are we together up to that point? We need a maximum of 2 lessons to complete topic number 3. So we've already started. The train has already left the station. No coming back. Good. So you'll remind me, we'll be talking about 15 in week 7, but of course our data is getting to week 6. Good. Now, even under regression or ordinary least square method, that is method number 2, there is no single question that will be given to you whereby the examiner will be indicating this is X, this is Y. No, it is upon you to read. It is upon you to read and identify what will be used as X and what will be used as Y. So if you read that question carefully, you'll be told that units produced determines what production cost will be. Or this one here is dependent on the other. The moment they say item A is dependent on the other, then that becomes your total cost, or Y. Then the one that it depends on automatically is the independent variable. So the examiner will not give you X and Y directly. No, you have to pick it from that. So OLS means ordinary least square method. In some books, they call it simple regression, ordinary least square method. Good. So under this particular method, it is our second class, 7th of January 2025. You have more than 3 months to master the formula I'm going to give you here. But should you fail to understand it when you now have 2 weeks to exams, then please use the simplified method, right? because either of the two will still get you to the same answer. So we start with this. Our cost function y is equal to a plus b x. Then now come here and say, for us to arrive at this, we must get summation of y is equal to na plus b summation of x. Summation of xy is equal to a summation of x plus b summation of x squared. Right? Good. That is Roman 1, Roman 2. This is the first function that you're going to use to come up with a simultaneous equation. Then from that point, we'll be able to get the value of a to get the value of b, because that's what we need for us to come up with a cost function. Now, we have a condensed formula. We have a condensed formula. What we call busy na notes kushinda concept. That's interesting. Let's deal with this. The notes will come later. Relax. Notes 𝐭𝐸 for topic 1 up to topic 10. If you can access LMS, you have everything with you. So that one should not worry you at all. Good. This is the condensed formula, or this is what we have, which, so you only have an option to master this one here or master the second one that I'm going to give. If you cannot master the second one for 3 months, let's forget about it and focus on the first one. The second one will not take you through all this procedure. We'll give you the value of b directly. Right? So b is equal to n summation of xy minus summation of x summation of y over n summation of x squared minus summation of x bracket squared. Then a is equal to summation of y minus b summation of x divided by n. So this is number 3. Then this is number 4. I've said you have 3 months to master method number 2. Should you fail to master it within 3 months, forget about it and focus on method number 1. Tumeelewana? You have 3 months to master this one that will give you the value of b directly, the value of a directly. Should you fail to master it within 3 months, we forget about it and proceed or continue with the first method. The 2 will give you the same answer. Right? Good. Regression model, you don't use it at this particular point because you will not have access to your laptop or Excel to be able to do this in exam room. The only thing you can access is your calculator, which of course, again, as we progress, I will show you how to get the values. You can clearly see in our equation or in this particular formula, what you need is very simple, which when you have it, I don't need this extra column. I only need to get the value of summation of y. You add everything here. I need to get summation of x. I add everything here. The second one, I need summation of x, y. I need summation of x squared, right? So it means I'll come here and bring in the third column, x squared. I will come here and bring in the fourth column, xy. So make good use of your calculator and give me these figures within the next 10 minutes. I mean, 1 minute. So we need to get these figures here. We need to get these figures. So x squared, 10 squared will be 100. 13 squared. 13 squared ni ngapi? 169. 24 squared, 576. 9 squared, 26 squared, 26 squared, 7 squared, x. Good. So we are coming to xy, right? X multiplied by y. So 10 by 94, 13 by 55, 13 by 55, 24 by 107, 24 by 107, 2568. 9 by 53, 26 by 102, 26 by 102, 2652. 7 by 55, 385. So how do we get this summation of all that? So when I add x together, I'll be getting summation of x. When I add y, summation of y. When I add x squared, summation of x squared. xy, summation of x, y. Can you now give me the total? I believe that space is still enough, yeah? The space is still enough for us to get these items. So can you give me the summation of x? Summation of x. Summation of x, 91. Summation of y. Summation of y. Summation of y. Someone to do for x squared, that is 466. Someone to do for x squared. X squared, 1651. Someone to confirm? 1651? 1651, is that the total? X squared? X squared, 1651, good. How about xy? 7737. Good. 89x. What? Something is wrong, right? X is equal to 89, not 91. Unless mtu alisahau akaweka hii 26, but it was 24. Good. So are we okay with that? So that's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do. So if you don't know how to use your calculator to get these summations directly, you'll be forced to bring in the extra 2 columns. But if you know how to make good use of your calculator, you don't need these extra 2 columns because what you are required to do is to give us summation of x, summation of y, summation of x squared, summation of xy, which you can do without the extra columns. Good. So with that in place, are you able to get the value of b directly? Are you able to get the value of a directly? So what is now missing, which you can clearly see, is the value of n. The value of n is the number of observations. The value of n is the number of observations. So when you talk about number of observations, in week 1, when you produced 5 units, this was the total cost. That is 1 pair. In week 2, when you produce this number of units, this was the production cost. That is 2nd pair. Look at it up to the last week. Look at it up to the last month. Look at it up to the last day. So how many frequencies do we have? How many days, how many weeks, how many months were sampled under this particular study? If I look at the last column, we were given this in weeks, right? So this was recorded for how many weeks? For 6 weeks. So the value of n is the number of observations, which is 6. What if you are not given this column? Will you still manage to get it? The answer is yes, because this is pair 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So with or without this particular column, you will still get the right, you will still get the right answer. You will still get the right answer. Good. So I want us to move forward and apply this method. Apply this method to get the value of B. Apply this method to get the value of B. So can we get the value of B? The formula says that B is equal to N, which is 6, multiplied by a summation of XY. Summation of XY is 77, 37, minus summation of X times summation of Y. Then we go to denominator, right? Denominator N6 multiplied by summation of X squared. So I want us to get the difference from day one. There's a very big difference between summation of X squared and summation of X bracket squared. Summation of X squared, I pick it from this column. Summation of X squared. So this is the figure. Multiplied by 16, 51. Minus summation of X bracket squared. Summation of X is 89. So I'll take 89 multiplied by 89. That is the meaning of summation of X bracket squared. So that's what we have here. I believe you've been able to master the difference. I believe you've been able to master the difference between summation of X squared and summation of X bracket squared. Good. Now, if you know how to use your calculator again, just go to your calculator, open this bracket here, write everything the way it is. 6 times 77, 37 minus 89 times 4, 66. Close the bracket. Then you say divide by. Don't even put another bracket. Just say divide by. Then you put all of this. Or put it in bracket still. So open the first bracket. Record the all of this. Close the bracket. Then say divide by. Put the all of this in a bracket. Give me your answer to 4 decimal places. Your answer should be given, should be rounded off to 4 decimal places. You should be able to round off your answer to 4 decimal. How do you come up with 6 kindly? E6 tumetoa wapi? So I'll be forced to go with this. Ndio tuone hiyo 6 inatoka wapi. When you are using the 𝐼-law method, we talked about coordinates. The 𝐼-law method, we talked about coordinates, right? X, comma, Y. So if you are to pick these coordinates, how many pairs are you able to see here? X, comma, Y. If you are told to count X, comma, Y, the first X, comma, Y is 10, comma, 94. That is 1. The next one, 13, comma, 55. That is 2. Then 24, comma, 107. The next one, 9, comma, 53. 26, comma, 102. The next coordinate, 7, comma, 55. How many coordinates do we have? How many coordinates do we have? If you are to count, how many coordinates? How many coordinates do we have? How many coordinates do we have? 6. So is your question answered? Is your question answered? Is your question answered? Great. Good. So that is the value of, I've been given the value of B somewhere here, 2.4927. 2.4927. So can we use that to get the value of A? Can we use that to get the value of A? We should. An assignment, you're going to use this method, this first one, to get the same thing. You are supposed to use that to get the same thing. So the value of A is equal to summation of Y. So summation of Y is here, 466 minus B summation of X. So our B is 2.4927, right? Multiply by summation of X, which is 89. The whole of that divide by N, which is 6. So when you are told to do that, what are you getting as the value of A to 4 decimal places? What is the value of A? What is the value of A? What is the value of A? So that the next thing is to come up with a cost function. The value of A, 40.6916. 40.6916. 40.6916. Good. So can we now come up with the cost function? Y is equal to A, 40.6916 plus BX. Of course, what if the value of B was a negative? We put minus BX. But because the value of B is a positive, it is plus 2.4927x. That is our cost function using which method? Regression or ordinary least square method. Are we able to get Roman 2 of this question? I believe you can recall what we did under 𝐼𝐿 method. If you are told to give us the value of Y when X is equal to 15, so Y will be equal to A plus BX. And what is X? 15. So what is the value of Y? So that is maybe week 7. Something is happening in week 7. What are you getting? What are you getting? What are you getting? What are you getting? When X is equal to 15, what will be the value of Y? We are trying to compare what we got using 𝐼𝐿 method and what we are getting using regression. 78.0821. 78.020821. Great. That is what you are supposed to do. That is what you are supposed to do. Now, if you are told to give us fixed cost, basically you are being told to get the value of A. If you are told to give us variable cost per unit, don't waste time. Calculate the value of B. That is the variable cost per unit. Cost function, this is the cost function. If you are told, maybe they are estimating or anticipating that next month or next week, they'll be producing 15 units. Can you estimate the production cost? So when X is 15, the value of Y will be 78.02. Under which method? Regression method. Under 𝐼𝐿 method, we got the answer, right? So you've been able to see. Now, from this particular method, have you been able to see its advantage? Why we are told to depend on this method more than any other method? Have you been able to see the reason? If yes, please do that as we verify our answer using Excel. When told to find. Okay, if you're told to find fixed cost, tulisema fixed cost ni y-intercept. Now y-intercept is equal to A. If we are told to give us variable cost per unit, it was the gradient or slope of the curve. Na tukasema that is B. So if you are told to get fixed cost, get the value of A. Variable cost, get the value of B. That's what I'm saying. E-table economics or no? If yes, if you use calculator directly. If you use calculator directly, what will be marked is this. Do you have summation of X, summation of Y, summation of X squared, summation of X, Y? Do you have n? If you have these things, you get your 2 marks there, or 3. And then we now look at your formula and your workings. This table is useless if you know how to use your calculator. Pardon, about x times 15. Where do you find 15? Can someone tell him or her how we are getting 15? Can someone tell him or her how we are getting 15? Can you go to your workings? Can you go to your workings under 𝐼 method? Roman 2, we said, can you find the value of y when x is 52? This is an assumption. Assume x is 15. What will be the value of y? What will be the value of y? Good. So I believe that is clear. We are done with method 1 and 2, right? We are done with method 1 and 2. Now, if you look at the image that I shared with you in the group, there's this image that I shared with you in the group. That image, for example, how do we deal with it? This concept is covered in CPA and ATD. In ATD, it is fundamentals of management accounting. The paper has got this code. Is it DA32? CPA, it is CA25. So locate this in CPA, locate this in ATD. Group description has got all the past paper questions. The link to the past paper. Why does this method seems to be easier than 𝐼 method? Wow, that's great. So number 1, if you go to August 2023, question number 1, there's a question from this topic. If you go to December 2022, question number 5C, CPA, there's a question from this topic. If you go to ATD, August 2023, question number 3B, there's a question from this topic. So it is now your responsibility to go to the past paper questions, look at those questions, attempt them. But of course, in our next class, we will be able to look at a question from the past papers. This was just an illustration, and we've been able to see how to deal with this. So before we meet on Friday, we'll be able to create time, go to the past papers, attempt those questions. Alternatively, you can go to September, December 2024, under topic number 3 in LMS. Just watch one video. You'll be able to see again the same thing done there. So you have a lot of materials to be able to do what? To deal with this. Great. So I want to show you how to access the materials, which I did, and I've been sharing that video in the class, but majority are not following, not even ready to listen to that video. The video has got procedure on how to log into LMS, on how to access the notes. Imagine as we speak, you should be having notes from topic number 1 all the way to topic number 10. So this class will be having 2 sessions, Tuesday and Friday, same time. I shared it today, actually, 10 minutes. 10 minutes into our class, I shared the document. Good. So just log into LMS very fast. Log into LMS. Log into LMS. Tusaidiane hapa. Log into LMS. Log into LMS. Tusaidiane hapa very fast. So some people are not able even to log into LMS.